Yes, ma'am.
Got it. And now, okay.
Hi, ma'am. Ooh la la, that is so nice background.
I'm gonna send it. Let me try to send it to you. Do you want me to try to send it to you?
Yes, ma'am, please. Thank
Okay,
you.
let me do it right now.
That can be all.
Yes, girl, we made a background.
Thank you. Hopefully I can do it. My husband usually helps me with all the technology.
Send me your personal email address or whatever email
Yes.
address you want me to send it to.
It's clafdia.herbison, ma'am. Let me put it in. clafdia.herbison@gmail.com.
Herbison, H-E-R-B
Bison. Yes, ma'am.
S-O-N, Herbison
At Gmail.
at gmail.com.
Roger that, ma'am.
Gmail.com. All right, let me attach and find this thing because I know I had it.
Yes, ma'am. And I was like, I should probably make my wall look great. And I had
Yes. That was my thing. I was like, look here, I'm gonna make sure we represent.
yes, ma'am. I have an email ready for you. I just wanted make sure Major League sees it first because I don't want to
Right.
anymore. And
Right.
about the items, ma'am. So there's an email coming up as soon as it's been approved and comes.
Okay. All right, hold on. Where's the one with the black background? I got the one with the white background. I got one with the peach background. I'm not finding the one with the black background.
Uh-oh.
All right, well, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I can fix it for you. All right, I'm sending you the one with the white background for now. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Send a message without a subject. Hold on a minute. Okay, yeah, I'm sending it without a subject and a background. Message sent. You sent message. I just gotta correct. Let me know if anybody comes in while I'm doing this because I can't see.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm gonna open this up and I'll change the background and I'll resend. No
Roger
system
that.
resource audio. Got it. Yeah, I'm a bad student. All right. You know what? I was in PowerPoint when I did this. Let's see. You know, it was a while ago when I did this, so I'm trying to figure out how I did it the last time. Is this pictures, documents should be able to allow me to do.
Oh, to send it in a document, ma'am?
Well, I sent it in a document because I can't remember how I had it, but I had it saved on my computer like this.
Oh, Sign First Class Ramsdale is trying to come in. I'm gonna
Okay, let her on in.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to close
okay.
the video for a second.
Let me do that too. Hey, Sarah Ramsdale, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you? Sorry, ma'am. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You know what? If I'd have stayed on the enlisted track, I'd have been a sergeant major by now. I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. I don't know. I need to make you a friend on my Facebook page because I plastered y'all's boss extravaganza all over my page, and I was so happy and excited about it. You look great out there too.
Thank you.
Yes, you did. So what I'm gonna do,
Hey, ma'am, how's it going?
hey, fine. How are you doing, Mari? I was just talking to Sergeant Ram, so Jamie. So Jamie, I don't know if Sergeant Major Love was able to give you a text message that had everything on it. But I wanted to make sure you were good. Hey, before we talk again, Claudia, the video that's recording right now, remember we were only going to start videoing at 1800. So we can save our time. Does it time out, Mari or Claudia, this evening? All right, there we go. We got proof that we're having our recording and we're doing this evening. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Colonel Clydea Pritchard Brown, and I am the founder of the Female Mentor Morale Program. We have our executive board on here tonight doing wonderful things and continuing to spread the vision and the message of taking care of our formation. And it's an all-inclusive program. For those of you just joining us this evening for the first time, welcome. We are glad you're here, and we want to be able to give you as much information as possible and mentorship. And then those of you that are coming back, thank you so much for joining us again. We're excited to have you on here. And I always like to acknowledge we have Sergeant Major Jose Raimondo on here, who is streaming live on Facebook to about 8 pages. So thank you so much, Sergeant Major. We always love having you on board with our team. Hey there, Sergeant Major. And as people continue to come in through the evening, they'll be able to join in the conversation. But before we get started, we always start off our evenings with a little prayer and thankfulness for everything that we've done and we've been given and blessed with. So with that, I'd like to open it up to Captain Sierra Cooper Thomas, if you could bring us in with prayer.
Good evening, ma'am, and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please bow your heads, pray to your Lord as I pray to mine. Lord, I thank you for another day. I thank you for another day to wake up and experience this life here on earth. I thank you for the ability for us to come together and to fellowship on this platform. I pray that you open up our hearts and minds to receive and utilize this professional development. I would like to thank you and pray for the guest speakers, and I ask that you give them the wisdom and knowledge to continue to share with us. Additionally, I'd pray for all the single soldiers that serve our country. I ask that you continue to give them strength and the ability to continue to serve. I pray that you continue to watch over us and give us the wisdom and confidence to live in our purpose. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that, Sierra. And so with that, tonight we have a great discussion. It's going to be a two-part discussion. We're going to start tonight in July, and then we're going to continue the discussion over into August, because this isn't just a one-time conversation. As a matter of fact, it should be an all-the-time conversation, because our formations are not just made of families that have husbands and wives, or wives and wives, or husbands and husbands. Our families are made of our formations are made of single soldiers, single parents, single civilians, and we want to be able to address their concerns as well. And we have some awesome programs out there that we need to make sure everyone understands. And we also want to dispel a lot of those myths. And so tonight we have some subject matter experts in here that are going to bring some knowledge to you. If you haven't seen our Facebook post, or if you haven't seen the Twitter, they have tons of pictures, and I put pictures on there because they just hosted an extravaganza hosted by the BOSS community, or BOSS program. And with that, we've got our subject matter experts from the BOSS program tonight. So honored to have Command Sergeant Major Tamisha Love, who is not only the BOSS manager of Fort Lee, CASCOM, she's a Command Sergeant Major of Garrison at Fort Lee, running things, making sure her command is kept well, and making sure that Major General Simley, our CASCOM Commanding General, understands how well the formations are cared for out there. And not only that, we also have the BOSS president tonight, and her life, her times, her experience, you're going to enjoy listening to tonight, because most of us will be able to resonate with both sergeant majors and her life. And hers is Sergeant First Class Jamie Ramsdale. I'm so excited to have both of them on here. And not only that, we also have BOSS reps who have decided to join us this evening as well. They're a team. And so we're excited to have all of them on here. So they're going to spend some time talking a little bit. Each one of us is going to have about 10 to 15 minutes to talk. Then we're going to open it up for questions and answers, and just open dialogue on the life and care of single soldiers, single civilians, and our single parents. And so with that, I'd like to open it up and start out with Command Sergeant Major Tamisha Love. Sergeant Major.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Also, I want to make sure I introduce my boss advisor, Mr. Mac Hall. So it's important as the 73 Army installation does have boss programs, and each of those programs has a boss command sergeant major, which is a manager, boss president, and a boss advisor. And we know, as we say, our civilians are part of our Army family, and he's the continuity. He's doing great things. So we're gonna talk about numerous things tonight. We're gonna share our experiences. We have some of my boss representatives on there that are doing great things. And we have some of our single parents that will also be able to answer questions on how they benefit from the boss program, for the resources they have learned in the boss program. So first of all, I just want to thank you all for giving us this wonderful opportunity.
Sergeant Major, if I could do a second, if everyone could go on mute to make sure we don't have any interruptions for the evening. What's going on? Can you hear me, Sergeant Major? Let some more people in. All right, ladies, we're gonna see who that is in there. I'm trying to mute everyone that I can so that we don't have any more disruptions. Sergeant Major, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you go on and continue talking. We'll go through it.
No problem.
All right, great.
So it's important when we talk about the boss, and of course I know it's 2 segment SRG. I will tell you, when we talk about operationalizing the Army's People First strategy, the boss, the opportunity for single service members, I like to say that because it includes your single parents, your single soldiers, and your civilians. And when we talk about SRG, no matter what your formation, they fall in one of those categories. So through my shared experiences, I would tell you, being a battalion command sergeant major at Fort Riley, 1st Infantry Division, high up tempo, the boss and the SFRG pay big dividends for our battalion. You have to understand, when we talk about our soldiers and we talk about providing resources for our single parents and our spouses, to understand what we have available. Now, we are always servicemen. We get wrapped up in a mission, day-to-day operations, typical for us as a soldier, right? And we have to think about our single soldiers who go home to the barracks, don't go home to their families. Their families are away. And we'll talk about some of our initiatives. We got to address that. Also, we talk about spouses and, what our SRG are doing for that. And it's not just most about a meeting, it's about initiative, making everybody feel connected. I always talk about leadership. We need leaders not only be engaged, but be able to be connected. Those are the leaders we need in our formation. So I'm gonna tell you about, let's start out. We already know the boss always been comprised of single soldiers, and some of our initiatives and what we have to do to get them involved in our programs. The big emphasis and new addition is our single parents. So as you heard, my boss president, was unfortunate, she's very amazing and definitely can relate, is a single parent. And she'll tell you that even though Fort Lee has the only boss center in the United States Army, I just found this out when MCOM came to spec. She's there, but her role, we have her embedded in DFMWR, because the Alliance of Effort plays a big role. What are you doing for our soldiers, single soldiers? What are you doing for our single parents? And what are you doing for our families? So they're a team. There's no gap in taking care of our soldiers and their families. So a lot of initiatives, the one that we are proud to bring up is when we think of, let's focus on single parents. I would like to start off with give you an example. We have an instructor that's works assigned to the Ordnance School. His wife passed away with breast cancer. He has 4 daughters, and he relied heavily on our boss program, because anybody who got daughters know it can be challenging. So you're talking about someone who's doing a Broadney assignment, working long hours, have 4 daughters to raise on his own, and the boss program is assisting with that. He had questions like, hey, even for picking up Fenimore products, we are there to help our boss team. We come together, give them advice. And it's important for the single parents and their kids to participate in our events. It gives a break. If you ever been a single parent dealing with everything every day, coming home, have to cook, now you got to do homework and thinking about those stressors. And And that's what our single parents shared with us when we got them together. We wanted to know, how can we best serve you? How can the Army best serve you? And one of the things that came up, it was fortunate to be that the Army now include them. They feel included in the BOSS program and the SFRG program, because usually it's like, oh, where we at? You can be a part of both. They are very resourceful and everything. So with that soldier, when we started doing this, we had a meeting with single parent. We had everyone that came on the net, and they talked about what they wanted. They wanted single parent network so they could talk about their stress or rely on each other. And so we have a support group, the testament. Hey, what you going through? Hey, my daughter needs this. My son needs this. Hell, you going to the BOSS event? Or we'll be a part of this volunteer event, because every event we have, our single parents and their kids participate. And I know some people talk about the legal technicality and the policies. The Army recognized single parents as the BOSS program. It's a part of the MCOM SOP. The SMA, we meet and we have to send up data about how many single parents participate in this event. What are our initiatives that address single parents? I would tell you, SMA and the Army Chief of Staff is heavily involved about making sure our single parents are taken care of. Trust me, there's a report we have to send up in our event. And one thing is important that you understand where the BOSS is, right? Because our BOSS president is vested with the resources. ACS, our Army Community Service. If they're financial difficulty, a single parent or one income, you have financial counseling. We have the Army Emergency Relief. We have single parent counseling. We have so many with the Army Community Services. So they are nested with resources. We have our RSO, Religious Support Office, who have team programs. Like Waleed, we have a contracted youth worker that work with our youth. So, and it's very important that I, BOSS president, and she know, Songbird Class Ramdale will tell you, before she got involved, she had to be truly understand the services and the resources available to take care of our soldiers and our family. So if somebody have a pay problem, a single parent, or either CDC, explaining how the CDC child care, that's all following the FMWR, ACS, CDC, CYS. And so that's why it's important for you as a single parent to link up with those people so we can give you those resources and be able to help you out and even set you up for success for your next duty station. And so and then our next initiative, our AIT. So we know that there's a lot of single parents that young single parents that when they get to their first duty station, they struggle of being a parent and meeting military requirements. It's new to them. They don't have the experience that we have. And so what we're doing, we're starting to do briefings, getting all the single parents there. Hey, this is what a family care plan is. Hey, this is when you get there. When you leave AIT, you need to make sure you're on the waiting list to get your child back for CDC. This is what a waiting list. And this is how, believe it or not, you are priority. Our single parents, our dual military are priorities for CDCs. And they need to understand that. And I explain that to people when they call and I'm like, hey, if you might be a party one day, you might be a party two, because MCOM, we have set priorities. Single parents are considered a high priority for CDC. It's important for you all to know that photo resources available. So there are so many resources that are available for our single parents that we can provide. And I think that when we talk about retention rate and make sure that our single parents have the leadership engagement, the connectivity from the leadership to be able to understand what our single parents go to and empowering leaders with the resources. You might not have all the answers, but we are definitely a resource to be able to assist you with your single parent, all your single parents. And it's important now that every installation, now I'm challenging all of you on here, you have to challenge your BOSS president and your garrison command team to be able to provide those resources for your single parent. If you don't see events for single parents and being included, then you have a voice, because we all know that BOSS is a voice for our soldiers and their families. And I encourage everyone to take advantage of that. We are still refining policies and stuff. We just added single parents, added civilians, and so we're working through policies. But we do it is part of the BOSS SOP, our single parent. It's official. So it's no myth, it is official that single parents are part of the BOSS program. So you all know that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant First Class Ramdale. So I can leave time for questions and answer. And then also I would tell you, let my BOSS advisor tell you some of the life skills, which we like Colonel Pritchard Brown will tell you about our boss extravaganza, which we validate our life skills. And I would tell you it included AIT, permanent party, single parents, and our civilians. And every 90 days, we'll do an event that incorporate. And we told Trade Out, because that's a myth that we can't mix permanent party with AIT. We are still a profession. We're part of our Army. So yes, when it comes to resources, they are all in there. We have our NCOs, our officers, everybody there. And we even include our bullet students because they're going to become platoon leaders. And it's important, they need to understand the resources. So them as a platoon sergeant work to understand, hey, I have an issue in our platoon. Hey, these are the resources available to have the issue. So it's all about educating and training for that. So I'm going to turn it over to my amazing single parent boss president who is out here killing it at Fort Lee, and I will put her against any boss president in the United States Army. Sergeant First Class Ramsdale.
Good evening, everyone. I am Sergeant First Class Ramsdale. I'm the Fort Lee boss president. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Uh-oh, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There you go. Yep,
As
we
I
hear you loud and clear.
As I was saying, I'm Sergeant First Class Ramsdale. I'm the boss president. And as Sergeant Major Love said, I am a single parent of 14 years. Having a teenager can be kind of challenging sometimes. However, I am extremely grateful for the opportunities and the experiences and everything that the BOSS program has allowed not only me, but my son to be a part of. Actually, some of my best experiences with the BOSS program actually include my son, like the community service projects, the Feed the Hungry events, the local church support groups, and Holiday Helper, giving back to the community. And the fact that, you know, the BOSS program does include single parents, I'm really hoping that having all these shared experiences with him will actually kind of empower him and inspire him, you know, later on in life to give back to his community and possibly even join the Army family one day. You know, be rather of a productive citizen. And mostly, I don't know, as a single parent servant, I'm also really hoping to inspire other single parents because I didn't realize there are so many single parents out there, and being a part of this group really, it makes me feel like I belong somewhere. And it's like when you PCS, you go to a new duty station, where does a single parent fit in? They don't fit in with the married people, but they don't fit in exactly with the singles either. And you're looking for that connection. And I believe the BOSS program allows that connection and the networking to happen, you know, where everybody can come together and support each other.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm so glad both of you are on here, and we want to talk about both the single parents and the single soldiers. And I guarantee you, so many people are out there that have not had the opportunity to learn what you all have talked about. I know, Sergeant Major, you both are passionate about this, and having been a single mom myself for 8 years in the military, thinking I couldn't do it, worried about having to get out. I didn't have to have that choice. I was able to continue to go through because of the BOSS program, because of my family. Really, it was mostly because I asked for help, asking, you know, and not feeling like I sat in silence alone at home thinking I was all by myself. So that's why we wanted to bring this to as many people as we could. And like I said, we've got Facebook Live pages being streamed, this information, so that if they needed to ask more questions or ask for help, they could. And so the reason the FMMP program does this is because we want to bring you all together as a resource and have this dialogue. So one of the first questions I want to ask, and then we're going to open it up to the rest of the team, because we've got a great evening to be able to answer some of these questions. What do you all see have been some of the challenges, not with single parents, because we're going to talk more about that, but tell us about the single soldiers that you've been having, and civilians that you've had to help address concerns with in their formations, because a lot of the times there could be behavioral health issues or emotional issues of abandonment or feeling alone. I will tell you, when I was in brigade command at Fort Lee, we were worried about soldiers who didn't have a significant other or a family that they were close to, and they sat alone in those four walls, and those four walls start to close in on them. And some people become suicidal, some become, they act out. So what have you all seen? And I'll start with Sergeant Major, then Jamie, Sergeant Ramsdale, I'll go to you. What have you seen that you've had to help soldiers deal with, the single soldiers that don't have a family with them? And what resources can you provide, or have you been providing, other than just the extravaganzas and the big events? What smaller things do you do for them? And I'll let you take a Sergeant Major.
So I would tell you, like I said before, I did leverage the BOSS program. And one of the things I saw a lot of increase of suicide ideation in my battalion, a lot of disciplinary trying to fit in and end up fitting in with the wrong crowd because they feel this need to fit in. And I realized, I had to analyze, I'm an analytical person, I had to analyze that, our soldiers are, I tell leaders, we have to really adapt our leadership. And we know that in doctrine, Army doctrine, we put in empathy back in 2014. We have to understand and empathize with what our soldiers are going through in order to be able to provide them the resources to be able to help them. And so one thing I found out that a soldier, they build a close network. First, they lead a family, right? And then they have to adapt to basic training. They build a network. Now we're in AIT, when we get a little freedom, that we build these bonds. Now the friend I'm close to, right? I build this bond. I don't have my family. Now this person go to Korea. I'm in Germany. I'm out of Fort Riley. And now I got to start this process over again. So what I did, and I shared with my battles, my peers, I integrated the BOSS program as part of my sponsorship program. So to decrease those disciplinary actions, those suicide ideations, because you're right, when you're in a room and if you're an introvert, you don't know how to meet someone, it's common just be in your room. I want to get out the Army, this not working, and you have those thoughts that could possibly come, because our soldiers that come in the Army today, there's a lot that have a lot of trauma. Some of them, majority have been sexual assaulted. They come from single parent homes, which is no issue, and they've been homeless. So you have a lot of soldiers that still going through the process, understanding our Army values and everything. So sponsorship, how I embedded in a sponsorship, like my boss president, my boss representative at the company that was eyes and ears on the barracks. The minute a soldier came in my organization, the first sergeant to come in, or even myself, we would talk to, what are your hobbies? If you hunted, then we knew we had a group of people that hunt. If you like sports, we had a group of people that sports. If whatever you like, we're gonna make sure, and the boss representative was empowered in the barracks. They know to go knock on the door and say, hey, come on, we're going here. So we made it easier for our soldiers to get in. And not only that, they're not giving the wrong person, and you're not worried about them doing drugs or drinking and driving. They're a specific that commander first off say, hey, these are the group of people that we choose to have our soldiers. So they're part of our sponsorship program. You have any course, if you shy to go into your leadership, you have an issue in process.
Sorry, did you say that?
If you have any issues with in processing, what are your questions about the organization? Do you understand what we do as an organization? And I found that be helpful. And then, there's BOSS representatives, they would come back and say, hey, first sergeant, hey LT, especially so-and-so being in their room, they're going through a lot. They lost their girlfriend, they don't know how to cope with. The girlfriend broke up with them, or they just lost their grandparents. So we had heads up on that to be able to know how to intervene to make sure, hey, are you okay? It's okay to see the chaplain. The chaplain is a valuable resource. So that helped me and my commander out a lot. So I always had the BOSS program a part of my sponsorship program. So.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad you said that. Sergeant Ramsdale.
Okay. I would say for the single soldiers, ma'am, that the BOSS Center is the #1 resource. And I have a group of individuals in the BOSS reps that really just make everything accessible to each and every soldier and kind of hone in on what their hobbies might be, what they might be interested in, and welcoming them into the units. And just kind of maybe if it's they need to go grocery shopping or they just need some help with their correspondence or whatever it may be. I actually like to give the credit to all the representatives that go above and beyond for the soldiers, ma'am.
And ma'am, I would like to include too, when we talk about single soldiers, when we talk about resources and we talk about like the barracks, right? And we know we just came out the Armor app, and we know that the commanders and first song that was a track, MCOM track is the Army program, because we needed it. So we educate the soldiers. That's what our boss said to do. Say, hey, this is how the Army program, how you work orders. And they'll say, hey, Sergeant Major, or they'll tell the boss president, because the boss president is the advocate for resources for the barracks as well. Hey, we need new washers. Even though they come fix them, we need new washers. Hey, these are work orders, and they validate work orders. And hey, if someone have a roof, that's what our boss president, and that's what we do as the garrison command team. We have to make sure that the quality of life is for our soldiers, our civilian, and our single parents. And we hold our boss president, our boss team to that. And another thing, like we said, in like career progression, we have when you come there, we put your ass shoes together tonight. We have study sessions with it, so we now inspire you. And then if there's something with the Army come out with an initiative or something, we explain it. Hey, this is the direction the Army is going. This is what that means to you all. And same as and like our single parents, our big initiative we're gonna kick off in September is our homework night. So the parents, single parents, you come get a break, watch TV, and we have our boss team to help your son or daughter or your kids with their homework. So, and that's one of the things that help take some of the stress off our single parents.
That is awesome. Hey, I've got a question in the chat box. Sierra, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. There was a question, and I'll read it. It says, Command Sergeant Major, Sergeant First Class Ramsdale, the BOSS program is well known, yet appears to be under advertised within the Army. What steps are we taking to increase awareness of BOSS among soldiers in the Army?
Good question. And so, and that's one of the SMA initiative, of course, not to boast and brag, I didn't need the SMA initiative, come take care of people, come natural for some leaders. And that's what the SMA is drilling on by advertising our BOSS program. Even I share with the event, because it's part of me in my commanding role to educate our leaders and to make sure we, as a BOSS manager, it is mandated that I have a BOSS meeting, Sergeant First Class Ramsdale. We must meet once a month. That is mandated. That the BOSS president is supposed to meet with the BOSS representatives and for the initiatives and make sure that the soldiers are bossing the BOSS president, BOSS initiative down and understand what the division commanders attend, the senior mission commanders, of course, and the sergeant major and what direction the BOSS program. But so how we advertise it, one way we do is, like I said, BOSS extravaganza. The one in September, we won't be calling it extravaganza because it's heavily focused on suicide. But every 90 days, and the leaders, we have tremendous support from our leaders. And so when we had those young first on those young commanders, they come and they see, they're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing in my company. And then also we incorporate, of course, the Army Logistic University, which will be changed to Army Sustainment University. We include our BOLIC students, which is future lieutenants, our XOs, executive officers, and we have our non-commissioned officers, the SLC class and ALC, which is squad leaders and future platoon sergeants coming out. Hey, if I don't have this in my company, this is where I need to start up to make sure our soldiers, our single parents, and our civilians are taken care of.
Awesome. All right, we have another question. Mari, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. So ladies, thank you so much for doing this. And I do remember PFC Munoz, single parent, not knowing which she fit in the FRG or the BOSS. So I just want to clarify question for my edification and for the edification of the team. Does Army policy actually tells you where the single parents fall? Or is that an initiative that you guys do? Because I get discipline initiative. I just want to get at what does the Army policy tells you and what do they give you and resource you for?
Okay, good question. So our MCOM policy do include single parents. Off back, it's a part of the BOSS program, it's official. So when it comes to that, and I tell people that when we talk about funding, we talk about it is different when it comes to kids and it comes to civilians. So, but however, I will go into our kids like, if we're doing a trip and we're using government vehicles, the garrison commander, the BOSS president, my BOSS team, Mr. Mack, who's on here, will do a exception to policy to the garrison commander. So the kids have. Now, of course, the garrison commander will soon raise it there because we have all different ages of kids. So of course, you know, there may be time where if you have a 6-month-old baby, it might be because you have to have the child restraint seats and stuff like that. And as far as our civilians are volunteers. However, some of the funding, because we're dealing with non-appropriate funding, they can volunteer. However, they have to pay for their own because our policy have not caught up with that yet. So our fund is for single soldiers and single parents. They are funded off the bat.
And I think it's very important to bring that up because as the Army catches up with what we need to do in a government environment, our civilian counterparts are very important as well. I'm now at AMC headquarters and I work around military and civilian. So we're all a part of the same team. So they have some of the same issues. They're just, some of them hung up their uniform years ago and some of them either never wore it and they're still serving because we're all working together. But I have a controversial question that I want to ask. For single soldiers, single parents, single civilians, being single can make you a target for predators, can make you a target for people that know that you're lonely or alone or feel that you may be by yourself. Normally when I'm walking with my husband, I got a 6'2" husband, not too many people are going to do anything to me. But some single soldiers, civilians, and single parents are walking by themselves. What education do we have and do we focus on where we make sure that they're not victims, where we make sure that they're not, when they're out by themselves, how do they protect themselves? How do they become more alert? How do they keep themselves from becoming targets as single soldiers and single parents and single civilians? What do you do? What kind of education? Because I heard you say it earlier, Sergeant Major. And so Sergeant Ramsdale, I'm going to let you address this question first. How do you help advise them, no matter the age? Because people seem to think the older you get, the wiser you are and the safer you are, and that's not true. You know, we have victims, we have people that are assaulted, we have so many people suicidal that are of all ages. What do you do? How do you educate them? And what experts do you bring in to help educate them to keep them safe, not just emotionally, but physically, and keep them from becoming targets? Sergeant Ramsdale?
Well, we can only, hope and direct them so much on what they can and cannot do. And that's actually what I like about Fort Lee's BOSS program is we are also, the MPs are embedded with us too. So they also like to tell us of all the programs that are going on and the avenues, whether they're going to go out drinking for a night, because we also have a program within BOSS called Driver for Life. And we just try to help everybody and use the Battle Buddy team. And
see, you have some people over there. Hey, look, feel free to bring the rest of your BOSS reps in too, because I know they're all there. You got a whole team full of them there, and I'm so excited to have them. Let any of them answer the question if you'd like. We don't just necessarily have to be you guys. Bring them on over there. Put them on the spot. There you go.
Some things that help me is that there are certain places we can go and certain places that we cannot go, and we Sergeant Ramsdale herself, she has given us that, so we just know the areas to avoid, how to stay safe. She talks to us a lot while we're sitting in the room, just passes along a lot of life skills, a lot of lessons that she has had to learn the hard way, so we don't have to learn it like that. So yeah.
I would say too, and that's why in the beginning I said that I think the Army definitely got it right when we put the BOSS within the garrison, because we're synchronizing resources, which we have our DS, our Department of Emergency Services, correct? And as Sergeant Ramsdale know, like for example, if you are a single parent, you feel and you're trying to warm up to the area, yes, and we have patrols to patrol your street. There's so many resources and things, briefings, and she said our MPs are embedded because we have single parents and single soldiers at MPs. So we have briefings, and our shop extravaganza, we had the MPs there. They was there. They embedded in all our programs, they gave the services, and it's important that they brief what resources, what they can do. And I would tell you that there's so many resources and services that the installation offer that's underused. And I think it's because lack of education. People just don't know they exist. And that's why we're fortunate to be on this platform to educate. Your garrison have a whole lot of resources. Your BOSS program is empowered with a whole lot of resources. And we hope you all take the opportunity to use them. And if you don't know, if somebody's not giving you the information, you can reach out to me.
Well, and I'm so glad you said that because we're here Kona side. And so many of us go overseas. I remember my younger days as a captain, as an NCO, Sergeant Pritchard Brown, and going overseas can be a scary thing also. And so not only are we here in the US, but the BOSS program is overseas. And that is probably one of the more important programs for single soldiers, single parents to use and call on, because when you go overseas, it's not like you can go down the street and call have your mom just drive up, or your aunts or your cousin or whoever. And we become a more close-knit family when we're overseas. And so the concern becomes when we're overseas, do you all communicate? And I know the Army, the Chief of Staff of the Army has this bigger program where they're bringing it to, more advertisement, as it was asked earlier. What can single soldiers, single parents do when they get overseas, not only just to get in process and know what the program is about, but actively get involved and have the BOSS program, BOSS members actively help them from the time they leave here all the way to the time they're there? I'll tell you the reason I say that. I'm in a sorority. I left my last chapter. We had already called ahead. They were already waiting on me to get when I got here. And it's like they did a handoff. Can the BOSS do a handoff to the location if the soldier comes to them and asks them for help and say, hey, who's over here? Do you all have connective tissue for BOSS reps that are overseas?
We are working on that. However, I would tell you that MCOM criteria, true law policy, have a certain criteria that's different for overseas and specified. So in the policy, it specified what the boss, the advisor, the boss manager, the command team supposed to do. And that's reportable. It's reportable. And there's certain things that they must do overseas to make the soldier fair, because it is different, as you say, it's very different in being overseas. So that's different. So that's what we hope to get, because one of the things, that's why I have to tell the soldiers, if you don't see it, you have to start up. Because one of the things we have our soldiers and our leaders are so involved here. And of course, you only average at duty station 3 years. And so what I don't want, they go to a duty station and they have expectations and they get unmotivated because they don't see the same thing at their duty station that they see here. So we empower them and say, hey, you might have to be that person that started up, be able to go to your commander and your first sergeant or your sergeant major and battalion command and say, hey, I want to be your BOSS representative. I have some ideas. And this is what I learned while I was here at Fort Lee.
Well, can I ask, and I know Sergeant Ramsdale is there, and she has this lovely lady next to her, and I know we've got a Staff Sergeant Pearson and a few other people from the BOSS team. Can we hear from them as well? Not that I don't want to steal the thunder from you all, because you're awesome. Let's hear from them as well, so we can see what's going on. And what kind of questions do you all feel, and what kind of support do you end up providing them and helping drive them to the BOSS program? We'll start out with Staff Sergeant Pearson. How about you? Not to put you on the spot.
Thank you. No, it's just fine, perfectly fine. Thank you all for having me. But for the BOSS, especially for single soldiers and cadre, we recently had a meeting with as many single parents as we could get, and we were drawing up ideas, and I kind of feel like that's where it starts, because different parents need different things. We had the tutoring session I thought was a really good idea. Some students need math, some need help in English. Maybe a self-defense life skill, class that could go along with what we were speaking earlier. Just things like that, getting different ideas and then bringing them to our BOSS president, Sergeant Ramsdale, and Sergeant Major Love, who do an excellent job at making sure if they agree with that idea, they push for it, they provide the funding, and make sure we get those executed to help out those single parents.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Sergeant Ramsdale, you got a lovely person next to you. What does she say? No pressure. And I know you had more in the room, and a handsome, there you go. Bring them all in.
I do have some of the BOSS reps were very intrigued by this meeting. They wanted to come and be a part of it. This is actually our vice president, ma'am.
Thank y'all for having me. So for my part as a unit rep, my job is to make sure they have all the information they can so they can come out and volunteer and help us. And with my unit, I'm lucky to have a very supportive first sergeant who he even comes out to some of our events and he let us know, inform the soldiers so they can come out. And then like every couple months before we have the huge boss meeting with Sergeant Major and the president, I have a meeting with my company to get their feedback and see what they would like to do, and so how we can make the boss program better for them.
Awesome. Well, and I appreciate that, because the fact that you are able to, and you all are empowered to go to your chains of command to be able to talk through these things. And if they're the commanders and first sergeants and sergeant majors and battalion commanders that they should be, and the strong leaders, they will be there to help you all, because what you're doing is helping the command prevent bad things from happening through their soldiers. So we really appreciate all that you're doing. And so we have a question in the room, and I'm gonna let any of you choose to answer it, but there's a Lieutenant Colonel Tia Terry. I hope I got that right, Tia Terry. Please jump on and ask your question. Don't go away. No, don't sit back down. Oh no, thank you for giving up your chair to her. There you go.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
you so much. I'm driving, so I had to type it. Don't get me if I'm texting and driving. But I wanted to text it first, make sure you guys got it. My question, so I'm part of DAIG, and we're going around doing this new soldier experience, and we talk about BOSS a lot. One of our questions is, raise your hand if you participated in a BOSS event, and then those that have raised your hand, tell me if it's been beneficial to you. And so we get that a lot, and I asked the question because a lot of them don't know what BOSS is. Not a lot. I would say majority would say they don't know or haven't heard of BOSS. And my question is, can we standardize, or is there a way to ensure that everybody in processing actually has to go see the installation BOSS person, or is that person still volunteer? Is it too voluntary to make them go to BOSS and say, here is BOSS, here's what you can do as a single soldier, as the same way we do with the education center, or the same way we do with the MP to make sure, the PMO office. Can we standardize that, or is there some way to push it so every single soldier is identified and they must go through that identification at BOSS, and you have the records and you can actually get direct contact with them? Over.
Well, you know what? That is a great question. I'm going to let them answer, but I will tell you, having just come out of Brigade Command, our command hosted a Power Academy every Monday when we got new AIT soldiers in. And I say it because that was my formation, AIT soldiers. And in that Power Academy, it's almost like a one-stop shop. Everything was briefed, SHARP, EO, we had BOSS, we had everybody, but started from the brigade command, me, all the way down to the company command teams. And the reason we did that is because we had to hit them at the beginning and then continue throughout that time that they were there. The thing is, you are absolutely right. And I'm so glad you asked that question. It's standardizing it and making it a protocol to wherever they go to an installation, where can they do that? And so going to turn to the BOSS reps and ask that question, just like she said, how do you, and to me, it starts with the leadership. How do we standardize it? And just like you said, with the Sergeant Major of the Army, making it a program, that's a perfect question to ask. How do we get it across the lines, social media? What do we do to help soldiers know right when they arrive what they have? And I'll open it up to Sergeant Major, any of you who want to answer.
First, you said something that I was about to say, ma'am. It's the leadership. If the BOSS program is failing on an installation, it's the leadership. I apply talent management. And you can't have anybody as your BOSS president. You can't have anybody as your BOSS representative. They're not going to be able to sell your BOSS program to your soldiers, because it's not the SMA BOSS program, not Sergeant Major Love. It is for the single soldiers and the soldiers. So the leadership have to have buy-in and be able to support it. And I was telling you, you have to make time. That's when we talk about operationalizing the people first. I know as a battalion, brigade, even as a first sergeant, our days are busy. But one thing for sure, there was BOSS meeting was on the program, and my commander and I make sure, whether it's a PLC, during 30 minutes before they went to child, they briefed us what resources you need, and it empowered the PLC because they get buy-in, right? And they briefed us on the event, and they let us know what resources you need. And we showed it, even though we have meetings at the division level, brigade level, like I think it was a video everybody kept sharing. I went out there for only 15 minutes, played kickball. I didn't have time. I had a bunch of meetings in the division, of course. But to them, I was out there for 3 hours. That 15 minutes meant the world to my battalion, the single soldiers and single parents out there playing kickball. I went out there, kicked the ball, caught a ball, and then I'm like, hey, they were like, thank you, Sergeant Major. And I went to the meeting. And we as leaders have to show presence. We can't just say, hey, people, we have to operationalize it by buying into our SRG program and our BOSS program. They're only going to be strong as the leadership. And I think once we get the leadership to understand what a valuable resource our BOSS program is and our SFRG, then you will see a difference. Because even if we standardize it, it's still going to be somebody who coordinates the event, coordinates to make sure they make the single parents feel inclusive, and the leadership have to empower that BOSS president or that BOSS representative to do that. So I think we have to get the leadership on board. And then, yes, and then of course, yeah, I agree to standardize it, because now if we, to me, my opinion, if we standardize it and now the leadership don't support the program or the BOSS representative don't understand what their role is, and then we just lost credibility. I'll tell you, when I first got to my battalion, I fired my BOSS representative. He didn't even know what BOSS was. He was like, oh, they just chose me. Okay, thank you, you're fired. Because I need somebody gonna be able to reach out to my soldiers. You need to understand what my commanding priorities are, what my initiatives are, and how. Do you know how to go knock on the door? Hey, soldier, let's go. You gotta be and that's the people you want as your BOSS representative. You can't just say, hey, because the brigade commander say I need a BOSS representative. Talent management. That's how you're gonna win your soldiers and your families over. Talent management, having the right person to do this job.
Awesome, Sergeant Major. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to answer that question, Sergeant Ramsdale, or anyone in the room, or Sergeant Pearson?
Yes, I just wanted to elaborate and say, Sergeant Major hit it dead on, because what I am seeing on my end is a lot of the units, it's a, hey, you do this. And if it's a, hey, you do this, if it's someone that doesn't really want to be a part of the program anyways, we can't really trust that they're going to actually go back and give the soldiers what they deserve, the information that needs to be put out and the opportunities that are available. So, I mean, I really do feel like it comes down to leadership and talent management.
Awesome. And you're absolutely right. And I know we have a question in the chat room. And so I'm going to, as a matter of fact, before we go to the question in the chat room, Sergeant Major Raimondo offered, he said, get with him after this program, after the program tonight is over, and he will make an LPD about BOSS next month. And I bring that up for everybody because it's just that easy. You have one person that says, oh, I see a need, let's fill a need. Let's go out there and put it out there. And before we get to our next question that I know is getting ready, I wanted to throw out there a discussion on vetting BOSS reps. Just like at Fort Lee, we have our SASH reps, SASH, which is sexual soldiers against sexual harassment. You have to vet those people, because what we don't want, and I know it's none of you all that's sitting here with your BOSS shirts on, but you just never know, wolves in sheep's clothing out there in La La Land in the Army. But you have to vet people to make sure they're the right ones, as you just said, Sergeant Ramsdale, because some people could just want the title because they think it's a singles location, they can hook up with all this, or that they have the opportunity to be around people that they could eventually make victims, and they're the predator. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm gonna let this next person ask their question, but start thinking about how you all telling us how you vet people who want to do it. And I'm so happy and proud of you all that are doing this. But we want to make sure everybody understands there's a process. You don't just get to raise your hand and say, I want to do it. It's got to be a vetting process to make sure they're sincere and they're just as passionate as you are. Okay. All right. So I'm going to open it up. I believe there was a question that was going to be asked. Was it Mari or Claudia?
Hey, ma'am. So I don't have a question as much as I have a comment. Okay. So I want to put in perspective to for the audience how much the Army has changed. When you and I joined the Army, ma'am, I know we're like babies still. However, we arrived. I know I was a single parent, and I literally asked, "Where do I belong?" I couldn't be in the BOSS program because it was almost like you got on the bus and you went to all the single and they will be hanging out. And then with the families, you have spouses, but you felt like, okay, somehow my child and I have to fit in there. So I think it just comes to show how much this People's First Initiative has literally made progress. It has. So I want the new members in the military to see from our perspective, because they think that they have to attack a hill. But you know what? There has been a lot of trailblazers that actually started the path. So just keep walking. We could only get better and continue to get better. And based on the initiative that these ladies take, amazing ladies, my hat's off to you. We need to continue doing just that, emphasizing people's first, mission first, soldiers always and never last.
Awesome. Oh, and I just want to modify that also, ladies and gentlemen, because you all are out there doing the best. Doing a great job for us as well. And that's what it takes. It takes team effort. The Female Mentor Morale Program itself. You hear Female Mentor Morale Program, but it's an all-inclusive program where we want men and women to come together. Because women can talk to each other all day long. We can woe as us till the cows come home. We need our male counterparts who are going to go out there and help police up some of the bad behavior or help us have more opportunities and say, no, this is my sister in arms or my aunt or my mom or and think about how you want your family member to have the same opportunities. So think of your sisters in arms who want those same opportunities. So we include everyone. And that's why I'm so appreciative that everyone who is taking part in this, like I say, on Facebook Live and here on the screen. And every month that we do this, we bring these messages to you to ask those hard questions and to really get into the dialogue. And so I'm going to open it up again. I think I saw a question in the chat room, but do any of you want to add more to what we just talked about on that question? Sergeant Pearson or anyone else? Go ahead.
I would say, especially when we talk about our people first and our single parents, I would tell you that we have a wonderful support system off post as well with our civilians. And we know that our Army are fighting two invisible wars. We know we fight suicide against suicide and we fight against sharp. And I would tell we leverage our BOSS program to attack them. And as you saw, our BOSS extravaganza, we attacked suicide. We had a lieutenant that tried to commit suicide here on Fort Lee, who was sexually assaulted. He was sexually assaulted while in high school, lost his best friend to suicide. And when he arrived here at Bowling, his mentee committed suicide. And so there he didn't find a purpose to live. He wanted to commit suicide. And so he talked about in the briefing, that extravaganza, to over 500 some soldiers, because it's the civilians, kids, and everyone. He talked about his journey, how the chain of command and leadership support him, how the Army resources helped him out. And the soldiers had questions. They asked a lot of questions about the journey. They even talked to him afterwards. And so those are the things we want everybody to understand, that you can leverage your BOSS program for sharp. We just had a sharp extravaganza where we had relays where you get a scenario. We made it fun, like, hey, you just seen this. What are you gonna do? What you innocent bystander, what are you supposed to do to validate the skills that the leadership, the sharp representative, everybody's telling them? So I would tell you, if you want to get after those issues that we have in our Army, then you have to know how to leverage those BOSS program, because they're paying attention. Those soldiers are paying attention. So I would tell you that. And we have had a lot of people that want to jump in with the single parent aspect. We have our outside organization, Red Cross, our ACS, our CR2 representative, suicide prevention manager, contact Sergeant First Class Ramsdale, and Mr. Matt was like, hey, I want to be a part of it. Here's some things I can do for single parents. So we're going to wealth of resources that volunteer that we didn't even know that exist to help us be able to furthermore assist our single parents.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to let CJ is going to get on and ask some questions, but while they're doing that, you all think through this question I'm going to ask later on about, is there a network that we can dial into, or not dial into, Google, that says what chapters are out there? And I only say that because there's ROCKS chapters, there's sorority and fraternity chapters, there's other organizations that have chapters where you can go on one site, click in and say, okay, Korea, Seoul, Korea, or Fort Eustis, Virginia, or San Antonio, Texas. And then you can click in and see the BOSS rep. Do you have anything like that? And if not, I would recommend we throw something out there, because if you have a repository where you can get all of the information to wherever location you're going to, people can reach out ahead of time and connect with those people, the BOSS reps, so that they'll have somebody waiting on them when they get there. Just a thought.
That's a great idea, ma'am. I would bring that up to even MCOP. I would share it up higher to our peers. We can add that to our digital garrison app, where you find out going to location and the BOSS tab is there as well. And also, I think just listening to you, because I'm glad we're on this platform because it's brainstorming. And I think you hit on the head. I think that when you go to those installation pages, it should be a tab for the BOSS. So single soldiers can say, hey, everybody got housing and everything else on there, but what about me? So yes, let's have a tab for the BOSS, who the BOSS president, the resources and the group and number to call. So I think that's a great idea. Definitely would take that back.
Oh, there you go. All right, Sierra, did you have a question? Some questions in the chat room, I know, in there. You're going to field them for us, or CJ?
Absolutely, ma'am. This is Sierra. So I have a question, and I'm not sure if I'm just oblivious to this, but just curious. Me coming up, and especially when I was in command, boss was huge. So I appreciate all the work from all the boss reps out there. But I'm curious to see if there's any working efforts with like recruiting command to talk about your program and to discuss if there's resources out there to potential single parents out there that are thinking about joining the Army. Over.
No, not yet, but that is a great idea. I'm sure if my General Assembly is on there, I'm quite sure I'll be in his office next week with that. Casca, we are definitely on a recruiting mission, and we are integrated with the recruiting battalion here to be able to assist with it, and also Virginia State University is a university, but that's a great idea. So I would also I'm getting a lot of great ideas, so support it.
Well, and I'm glad she said that, because that is actually some discussion at Trade-off, because the question is with recruiting, there are a lot of single parents. And for those of you that don't know about and haven't been in recruiting before, the requirement for a single parent to come in the military, and I don't think it's changed since I was in recruiting. I was an executive officer for the Milwaukee Recruiting Battalion. But more importantly, my twin sister, who is Lieutenant Colonel Clydelia Pritchard Allen, was a battalion commander of the Columbus, Ohio Recruiting Battalion. And I think she's on the line tonight. And if she is, I'm gonna have her jump in and add a little bit more to this. But there is a significant emotional event for a single parent to try to join the military, because you have to sign your child over to someone in your family or someone and have them raise your child while you're going through training. But it's not like as soon as you finish training, you get out and you go get your child back or sign him back over. It's a whole lot different. It's a little bit more red tape, and I don't know what's changed since then. So I'm going to let my sister, if she doesn't mind, if she's available, Lieutenant Colonel Clydelia Pritchard Allen, if you can add a little bit more about what you remember when you were in battalion command of a recruiting battalion. What are some of the things that were happening that kept us from recruiting some great talent in our civilian community? Over.
Absolutely, absolutely. You hit it on the head. That was one of the biggest challenges. Parents and even grandparents, wanting to work together to keep the children, because that was the first thing they heard. If you come into the military, you have to sign your child over. And of course, the mindset of me signing my child over, it almost seemed inhumane. But one of the things they're working with now with the Army is to actually come back and reconsider that policy because of the fact that it held up the recruiting, and it continues to hold it up. But that was one of the biggest concerns. You've got a family that needs to come in the military, or a single soldier or a single person that needs to come in the military to take care of their children, to have the assistance and the medical support, the medical benefits, things like that. And not having that was something that was, a challenge for them. So the military was one of the best locations or best areas for them to come in. But when they heard that, that was the one thing that stopped them from considering. So they had to find alternative, working at fast food places, things like that. But the military was the very place that they wanted to go to receive all of the support that they needed. Again, they are now looking at how they can revise that, what they can do to see how to support single soldiers coming in with children, to be able to prevent them from having to do that, because it is a lot of red tape that goes behind that. And it is something where you actually brief that person that says, hey, you're turning them over, and this is not just a do this just for training. It is a permanent thing. Now, of course, later on down the line, they're in the military and things happen to where they are able to get them back, when they work through it. But that is something that the Army is trying to work through to prevent that from happening, so that we can get our recruiting numbers up. I don't know if you all have heard, we are having a large issue with recruiting to come in the military, and especially for females in the military as well, for one of those being that reason itself. So hopefully that answers the question there for you.
Well, and I want to add for a Sergeant Major to take back to the team, and Sergeant Ramsdale and the rest of the team, think through this. You're a recruiting tool. The BOSS program is a recruiting tool to say for single parents, single soldiers, when you come in the military, we will be that soft landing zone for you to come into, and we will take you from the time you enter, because everybody remembers when you came in the first day. For those of you that have served, you remember that first day stepping off that bus, and it was the scariest thing you can imagine. Well, if you have someone there, aside from the drill sergeants who have to do their job, I love my drill sergeants because they are who they are. But after that, when you get to your units, when you have someone that is there to receive you without any hidden agendas, without anything other than, hey, we're here to help you because we want to. The recruiting part of it is, where is boss in the recruiting efforts before even getting them in the military? Because I bet you, here again, them knowing and understanding that there's something even before they come in that's going to guide them all the way through the connective tissue in the recruiting battalions. So then the IET, initial entry training, basic training, and AIT, to then the permanent units that they're going to. If there's no connective tissue, then we lose sight of individuals. And I joke with people when I tell them that my twin sister and I are case studies. 31-year case studies of how the military has treated an individual, good, bad, or indifferent. From being a single parent, from being a Black female, from being, so many different things. So when you look back at our lives, we are trying to provide some of the lessons learned that we've had to the community free of charge and fully able to say, hey, I'm transparent. I'll tell you whatever I went through so that you don't have to go through it. And I know you all are doing the same thing, so we appreciate that. So what are your thoughts on bringing that idea to your formations, your commands, and the Chief of Staff of the Army to connect that tissue and have recruiting numbers, because I think they'll get better. What are your thoughts, Sergeant Major?
I think it's a great idea because as your sister said, it is a horrific event for me as a parent to hand my child over. And at the same time, I want to get a better life for my family. I'm joining the military because I have a purpose. I want to serve, but I also want to create a better life for my family. But creating that better life involved me giving my child up. Then I'm gonna have second thoughts to that. So I think that's a great idea, and I think you will boost the population. Even though we have single parent males, majority female, you would boost those numbers up. So now I don't have to give up my child. I know that there's a program here that I'm going to be taking care of to help me with resources to be able to balance the challenge of being a parent and my military obligation. So it's more welcoming to join the military, to join the Army. So I think that's a great idea, ma'am.
Awesome. So Ramsdale, you want to answer anything, or anyone else on Pearson or the team?
Yes, so I think that's a brilliant idea in pushing it into recruiting. And I think just at our level, something that I just thought of, I mean, there's local recruiting stations. So just popping in, networking, say, hey, use us, use us to your advantage. And also Sergeant Major added a great idea to do a video. So there's already some good ideas manufacturing here, but something I'm willing to do, I just actually put it on my schedule for either this weekend or next week, but just find a local recruiting station, get in there, get some info from them, let them know that they can use us and geared towards those single parent families, let them know that they can rely on us. And then from there, we just have to do our part of the bargain when they get to these places, make sure they have a vetted, trustworthy boss rep to see them through and at their new unit. Over.
Yeah, and I think we'll test that out and we'll provide feedback, because I'm definitely Sergeant First Class Ramsdale, you already know that's an initiative. We about to start that up. And so I'm interested in that feedback, working with the recruiting station for that, and we're definitely appreciative of that idea. We're looking forward to it. And I'm sure
Hey, sign me up, Sergeant Major. Sign
Well,
me
let me
up,
add
I'll
to
go
that.
with you.
Let me add to that, because I want to make sure it's not just single parents, but single soldiers, single parents. So the FMNP, as you know, we're a grassroots organization that got started all of 2 years ago. We recently, within just this month, 3 different occasions, I went on the 2nd of July, Major Mari Lee went on the 7th of July, and my sister, Lieutenant Colonel Pritchard Allen, went on the 13th. We went to the cadet summer training program and I had 485 cadets. I talked about the FMNP program. Would have loved to introduce a boss rep. How many lieutenants are out there already married? We had a handful of married parents out there or married, but I can guarantee you the rest of them were lieutenants with no spouse or significant others or children. And we have someone tonight. I saw a second lieutenant in here, so thank you so much. I'm gonna put her on the spot in a minute, just so you know. I think it was Stephanie. Be ready, girl, because I'm coming to you. But I want to bring that up because that is also, again, a part of the recruiting effort, that you talk to everyone before they get in. And that not only helps encourage them to feel better that there's a soft landing zone for them when they get here, it's an effort that comes from the Army. And the more that goes back to the very beginning when we talked about, someone asked the question about advertising and marketing. How do you get the boss out there as opposed to just waiting for one unit rep or 2 unit reps or an installation to do it? It's across the lines and across the board. So recruiting command, cadet command, all of them are related, and it's all through the G1 and the G in the Army and chief of staff of the Army. So here again, there's some more. How do we get our words out there? There's a budget, you know, stuff has to be funded. There's a budget for this. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you all again also. All right, we got 25 more minutes of questions. Go ahead. Who was going to ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. We have one more question.
Okay.
They've been actually waiting for a minute to ask.
So I'm sorry. Thank you.
No worries. So this is from Kaz or Kaz. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Pender. Please join in and elaborate if you want. But their question is, in the current push with integrating MFLAC and chaplains inside EBH clinics to specifically target soldiers with subclinical issues, how can BOSS position themselves specifically within EBH to promote its services and target single soldiers who voice challenges with social support, lack of hobbies, or helplessness in joining the Army? Over.
And what is EBH again for everyone who, we know we live on acronyms, but explain EBH again? And what is it, Kinder Pass? Did I get it right? Feel free to jump in and elaborate on your question. I probably killed that name. Cass Pender, killed it all.
Cass Pender.
Flip-flopped it, Cass Pender. Feel free to jump in and also add more to the question if you would like to have some more dialogue.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, this is Captain Pender. I don't know how to change my name, so I'm apologies for that. I'm Captain Pender. I'm currently one of the social workers and leadership management officers at Fort Hood. And obviously, one of the things pertaining to my question that we have seen with the trends in EBH clinics is the push with integrating MFLAC and chaplains inside the clinics, which has helped. But obviously with what everyone has mentioned with more visibility for the BOSS program, I was wondering if there was a way to position BOSS inside the clinics as well. Because if I was to rack and stack, like if we were to ask any soldier at any installation, like what services do you know, like where you're at? Most of them would probably tell you, number 1, MFLAC, number 2, probably the chaplains, and 3, maybe ACS. But there are so many more, obviously, with BOSS, and I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can position BOSS to maybe either integrate into the EBH clinics or just bring more visibility in the brigade footprint. Over.
That's a great question. And before we get ready to let them answer it, thank you, Colonel Terry, Lieutenant Colonel Terry, for putting it in. EBH is embedded behavioral health. And so that's a great question. And so I'm going to open it up to Sergeant Ramsdale first and then Sergeant Major, because I know Sergeant Major got some great answers. I'm going to throw a suggestion out there too. Go ahead, Sergeant Ramsdale.
Thank you. I think it would be a great idea, a limited idea, just because behavioral health is one of those very touchy subjects. And I do think maybe we could post a flyer to let those that are seeking those services know that we are also out there to help them and that we're available.
Uh-oh, an idea. I saw it. It popped in. Go ahead.
But like, say for BOSS, one of my battles, she came up, she's a married, but she came with the idea where on like Sundays, she'd come in her time and she'd do like yoga or anything to mental, like to help soldiers just to relax and and it was like every Sunday she'd do it. And that was just something like a soldier came up with, and we just did it in the BOSS Center, and soldiers would come and do it. Yeah,
well, the fact that she's dedicating her time, that one in itself helps. So I'm so glad you said that, because and Sergeant Ramsdale, I know where you're going with the, the sensitivity and the nature of the locations, the chaplains' confidentiality, behavioral health. However, chaplains and behavioral health representatives are always free and open to offer recommendations to go to certain people. I know one of the key things with my MFLAC, and I'm glad Captain Pender said that, Cass Pender, yes, I got it right. I wanted to make sure I wasn't messing it up. But they offer avenues or programs for the people that come see them to go to help them on a lower level rather than making them feel that they always have to go to behavioral health. So if the chaplain or MFLEC or some of those people, not only a flyer, but hey, here's a point of contact I think you would love to talk to, because it's easier to hand them a phone number than a flyer. Because you know what happens to flyers? They lie in the bottom of our cars or they become sticky pads for something else. And so giving them a phone number, a Rolodex number. I say Rolodex, y'all probably don't even know what that is, a Rolodex, or phone contacts. And then giving the information, and then they can call someone like right after. And that way they'll begin a dialogue, but it's not so much them giving the information, it's them just giving a contact to. Thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea, ma'am. And also to answer your question, sir, you said having embedded, it's important that like Song First Class Ramsdale, right? She's the boss president serves as a year because they have the MOS, they have their job, and we know we talk about manpower for the Army, but she's just talking about someone keep on a little longer. So, and then our soldiers they still have their MOS and their job. So what we encourage is that we're a big advocate for behavior. I am a super advocate for behavior. Anybody tell you I go sit there just so soldier can feel comfortable. Just for senior leaders, because the last time Major Love was at behavior. I'm here because I want you to feel comfortable. I'm gonna read these magazines, and so you can come on and feel like you can come talk to me when you need to go, and I can just bring you there. And I think that's what we gotta do. We gotta make our soldiers, and even our senior leaders, because we're guilty of that. Do away with that stigma of behavior health. We have to let our soldiers know, like we did this weekend, it's okay to go behavior health. Sergeant Major Love has been to behavior health. We are all human. Your leaders go through something. We all stress. Life is not perfect. The journey of life is not perfect for no one, no matter we the SMA, brigade commander, or garrison commander, sergeant major. We are all human. We put on one pants leg at a time. And so that's what we have to, our resources have to mess. We have to mess with you. What trends are you seeing? If you're seeing that, hey, soldiers a lot of stress, or hey, we have a lot of soldiers suicide ideation, and that's what we as a boss can, hey, this is what we can do to tackle those. Because I would tell you, a lot of my initiatives come from, because now we know that the community review board with FAB has changed the IBC, we're going to the garrison. So I look at, hey, if I see like I have one today, and I see that, hey, that we have a lot of single parents who in the summertime who's getting their kids that have Cape Town daycare. So now that's my mission, to go work on daycare, or make sure, hey, we have FCC providers. Hey, these are the resources. So if they're a single parent, they're bringing their kids here as while they dress all day, want to spend the summer with their kids and battle and still have to work. These are the resources available. So those are the things I do. I listen to the brigade commanders and brigade sergeants and say, hey, we seeing these trends here. So I mean, I add that, hey, my boss program, hey, these are the issues we're having in the formation. This is what we need to get after to be able to support the installation, the commanders and the sergeant majors and the commanders and first on the installation. So I would tell you that what you said, whatever trends you're seeing with soldiers, if they're not comfortable going to behavior health, then yes, I would tell you live with your boss. But they have a boss embedded in the clinic, it's going to be very limited because they deploy and they still have their jobs and a volunteer. Sir, to answer your question.
Awesome. So I want to bring up two different programs. Well, first of all, family care plans. The family readiness, SFRG, Soldier Family Readiness Group program. A lot of people don't realize that program is a conduit for keeping soldiers in the military. It is not, most people think family care plan and they get out of the Army but family care plans, for all of you, family care plans are normally needed when you're deploying. If we're not deploying, then a leader should be helping that single soldier or that family or that, handle the situations and handle the challenges of the life that they have with their children. Because I'm glad you said it, during the summertime, children are out of school. For those of you who understand where I'm going with this, my mom used to use summer school as a daycare for me and my twin sister, because it's like, so they're in school, they're learning, and I don't have to pay anything, because that was back in the day when you had free summer school. And it was a babysitter because she was a single parent. And the amount that she spent a little bit of time in the military, but she got out because it was too hard. And no one was there to support her having children in the military to be able to live. So she got out of the military. We were growing up, and she was able to have us and put us in summer school. and here's another throwing out a recommendation. What can the Army do as far as funding at a discounted rate for single parents to have a summer program, a location where they can send their children so that they can go to school, go to work daily. And it's not just a military issue, it's a civilian issue also. It's a single parent issue because it's, what do I do with my child while I still have to go earn money to take care of my child? How do I keep them safe during the day? And it becomes expensive when you're trying to go out and find daycare, and you're going to try to find a nanny or things like that. So here's again, a recommendation. You may know something that I don't know. What is it that the Army can do to bridge the gap between care funding, which really funding is paying for people to watch other people's kids at a discounted rate for single soldiers. And I hate the fact that we have to put our names on lists to keep our kids in daycare. So what is it that you all can do or think of, or, even if we just dialogue it here, thinking about the type of programs we can do. And the reason I ask that is because the Women's Initiative Team, TRADOC, Women's Initiative Team is a new program that helps with changing policy. And these dialogues, we, the FMMP, are a platform under the WIC that allows us to take what we're talking about to them and say, hey, this is an issue, we need to address it. And single parents, in challenges of single parents and single soldiers, but single parenting is a huge issue, and this is one of those challenges. What are your thoughts? Sorry, maybe I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. However, I have to be realistic and let you know our challenges now. And I know TRADOC, we just had a meeting last week to address some of our issues, and I'm very frank. Across the Army, and I would tell you majority of our installations, we're having an issue with CDC, right? We're having an issue with staffing. I think Fort Jackson, about now, the only highest one, they're at 87%. I am struggling trying between 65% and 67%. And I'll be frank, one is our outdated policies. And one of the issues we're having, because background checks, even though we want thorough background check, but in the Army, our background checks take so long. And by the time we get somebody on board, they already found another job. So I know TRADOC's working on that. We had a meeting to have MCOM to work at the background check. So, however, I think that's a great job, but because of we're coming out of a pandemic, COVID, we're trying to get our numbers up. Like my CDCs just accommodate our dress arms. I was just able last month to go to 1,800 because be able to, so the drill sergeant instructor won't have to rush because what's 1,730 because it's staffing. I'm having a hard time finding people. So I'm developing initiatives with my team. And of course, I got some great ideas from General Assembly and TRADOC to, hey, let's start a program with Virginia State University, early child care, and look at them to help us out to take care of our family, take care of our soldiers and our families. But I think that's a great idea, but I think staffing will be a challenge for that.
And not to mention COVID, so, so many things. But I think we have another question. Mari, did you have something you wanted to add or ask, or any thoughts about policies and improving on where we stand with the programs that we have out there?
Yes, ma'am. So actually just making sure that all together we look across on how do we maximize the human domain. I mean, we owe it to our soldiers, and it's just a matter of those ladies and gentlemen raise their hand, and they are part of the elite 1%. The elite 1% that we are in the United States of America. And I think I remember when I was a single parent and the challenges that I had. And even being a dual military, which is another challenge that we don't even talk about. But the dual military soldiers that we have to somehow manage the full day's work and still overcome and do what we have to do with our children. So how do we maximize those dual military soldiers? How do we make sure that across the board, because to be honest, in essence, dual military is almost a single soldier. You and I both know, we all know this. I see you shaking your head, Sergeant Major, because you truly know this. So how do we work? How do we navigate that space there? Any suggestions from you?
And let me add before you answer, Sergeant Major or Sergeant Ramsdale, dual military can also be GO bachelors with families.
Absolutely.
Somebody's overseas or somebody's somewhere and they're like, well, I'm a family, but I can't go to BOSS or I can't go here to SFRG. So what are your thoughts on that? Go ahead, continue.
So we get these questions all the time, especially with the CDCs when they were like, well, I was just priority number one. I'm like, oh, we have our priorities. And one thing MCOM do is that single parents and dual military and emergency service provider, they are priority. That's why I tell people, hey, you could be number one today, but if I got a single parent come in, they just bump you because regulations state that single parents, there's a regulatory guidance that single parents and dual military has to be priority for CDC. They have to. So, and that's one, but I think we can do much more. I do. There's a lot of things we can do to be able to assist. And I says that it goes to the leadership and the resources and changing policies. That's the bottom line. Because you won't get funding unless there's a policy for it and there's a need, a justification for this action. That's the only way you're gonna get funding for it.
Well, and people,
So
most soldiers, younger soldiers don't understand the POM. So there's a whole process of funding for the Army. So let's dispel some of the Army just doesn't want to pay for it. It takes a long time, approximately 3 to 5 years to have something POMmed, which is programmed years out that have to pay for programs years ahead. And so if it's not budgeted or programmed in to the budget for the Army and broken down by every organization and then passed out and then dished out, and heaven forbid you don't spend all your money. But if it's not programmed, then it is very difficult sometimes for them to change on a dime and get a lot of money to support something. So I completely understand the challenges that Sergeant Major is talking about the Army's dealing with, because it is about money. It is about how do we compensate people for their time if they're going to watch somebody else's child? How do we provide the resources? Because wherever you're going to have children being watched, they got to be in a room that has lights, water, and safety. And so there's so much more. And a lot of the times soldiers don't realize that there are, and soldiers and civilians don't realize there's so much to it. But if we don't bring it to them and make it a huge issue, they'll never POM for it, or they'll never budget for it. And so I'm glad we're discussing this. We will definitely take all of this back to the WIT. I see a hand raised. Let's go on and ask that question.
Ma'am, I just have a question. Just because when I was in Fort Bragg, right, I was stationed in Fort Bragg, and the CDC in Fort Bragg was great. In fact, my son learned how to read in the CDC. So he went to pre-K in the CDC. And then we saw a change where CDC became just a child care center. Now, again, as a parent, as a soldier, I would love to see how we could get back to that space where our children can be in the CDC and receive an education at the same time. Like, that would be really amazing if we could try to incorporate that space into our ability to just educate our children. And the reality is that we're the Sergeant Major of the Army and the Chief of Staff of the Army. We're talking about how the pool of soldiers that we have in recruits, a lot of it is family members of soldiers. So again, just capitalizing on that piece of the Army and incorporating, raising the right kind of people that we need in this society. Is there a way that we could capitalize on that and seize the moment and seize the opportunity?
So I would answer that. I think it depends on installation, because I know at our CDC, and I will tell you this, we have priorities. CDC and barracks are MCOM top priorities. So I will tell you that. And a lot of things people don't know behind the scenes. Like, for example, I'll tell you, every week I have to go inspect a CDC, because we have our inspections. I go check to make sure, and I have to check. I check to make sure that the parent put the date on the breast milk. Hey, this field sanitation is there. Do we have the right ratio to sue? I'm in that count of kids, and I'm signing because it's all inspectable. So that's what I do on a weekly basis. And I'm sure, I hope all of Garrison Sergeant Majors are doing that, but that's something to make sure, because it's reportable. We would not have an incident where our soldiers and our family feel like their kids are not being taken care of. I would tell you, MCOM policy, if you look on their priorities, the MCOM commander, it would say CDC and barracks. And that's from the direction, they get their direction from the Army Chief of Staff. And that's where funding and everything with our CDCs and make it prove. Of course, we won't receive that money because we have a wonderful CDC campus, but how there's a revision and there's a different type of funding just for CDC that even as Garrison, we can't touch. We cannot touch that funding in the CDC. So there's a lot of things that the Army is doing to make sure CDCs. And for as the curriculum, I would tell you, and I advise any of the leaders of it, you can go talk to the director, the CDC provider, and they'll tell you, because some classroom, if there's an issue in that CDC and they're not providing, it should be providing education opportunity. It shouldn't be just the kids playing and napping. It should be, they should be learning something. because every time I go in the classroom, they're learning something, communication skills. We have the program where I go visit and they do the videos and stuff, me and my commanders. So they should be, and I would advise you to go talk to that director on that.
Awesome. So we've been talking a lot about single parents and families and touching on some single soldiers. And I promised I was going to get back to this lieutenant. So I see a second lieutenant, Stephanie Taylor. Thank you for joining us, second lieutenant, future commander, future senior leader of the military. Do you have any thoughts? What can you bring to the discussion, and what would you like to have us answer for you? Can you hear us, Stephanie?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Certainly can. Hey.
So for me, it's really just like learning about the different programs. My reserve unit is in Texas, so I am getting all of that. It's a little bit different being in the reserves because we don't have a local installation. The closest one I think is Fort Hood, which is where I live, so I'm able to gain a little bit of those resources. But on the reserve side, how do we get these resources and this help? Because part of the issue with the reserves is that there isn't as much standard supports in place, especially with units deploy. They're a little bit more disconnected from the support in the area.
No, that's a great question. And I'm so glad you asked it, because so many times people only focus on active duty. Well, and it's because, of course, the rules, we're active duty, we're Title 10, we're always, whereas active duty members have to come off orders to not be active duty. Reservists come on orders. National Guard, they come on orders. So when you're on orders, that's when you normally get all of that support that the active duty gets. But what happens when you all go back home? Or what happens if you're in that remote area and somebody just asked in the chat room, there's a significant need, and I'll go on and put it out there, Miss, let me make sure I tap on the name, Tara Patterson, who said, this sounds like an amazing program. Is there any effort to assist the Army Reserve, coincidentally, you were just bringing that up, full-time staff, both AGR and DoD civilians? And there's a significant need for this program, especially in remote areas, which is some of what you just described. So Sergeant Major and Sergeant Ramsdale, that's a great question. And I can guarantee you probably needs to go back to, because it's all policy, it's all funding, it's all, how do we help our soldiers when they're not on a daily basis serving, but they're still serving. They're just in urban, I call civilian clothes, urban camouflage, until you put back on your uniform. How do we help them? How does the Army provide more support to them and continuously hear their voice, even if they're not officially on orders doing something, or if they're back in their units? What do they do if they're in remote areas? Over.
I think that's great, especially as we have these initiatives, because the component 1 and 2 and 3, they all are Army family, regardless of whether you reserve, National Guard, active duty, you all are Army family. So I think important as we go forward, the voices been heard. I would tell you the Army Body Composition Program. I was down there today, making sure just there, and of course they wanted to get reserve and National Guard. We were showing the brigade supported the demographic involved Army Reserve, active duty, and National Guard soldiers, because their voices have to be heard too. And whatever Army regulation comes out, it affects our National Guard and Reserve soldiers. So I would definitely take that and have Staff Sergeant, Sergeant Ramsdale, take that to Staff Sergeant McCall, who is the Army boss representative, so we can find out and start expanding our resources to assess Army Reserve and National Guard.
Awesome, thank you. And that's what this platform is about. If we don't have an answer, we'll go get an answer for you. So appreciate the question, Stephanie. So glad you're here, and thank you for serving. And thank you, Tara Patterson, for asking that question in the chat room. That was a great question. And definitely a topic that needs to be discussed. And we're going to take it to the WIT, Women's Initiative team, to bring that up, not just for a women's issue, but just overall reserve issue, overall National Guard issue. How do we, as a family, take care of all compos together? Some great question. So look, we've got a few minutes left. What I'm going to do, not just to our speakers for the evening, but I want the boss reps that are in the room and Staff Sergeant, I want you all to give your final thoughts on what you're doing, why it's so important, and where you see us going. And then if you want to continue to use this platform in the future, we invite you back next month, because we're going to have the Soldiers Family Readiness Group rep for CASCOM, as well as you all back to discuss the relationships between the two programs and how we can work them together. Plus, we're going to have more people on here that want to ask and continue the dialogue. And so with that, before I go to you, is there anyone else who would like to come on and ask any other questions or any other comments before we bring it bring the session to a close? I'm gonna count it down. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, team Sergeant Ramsdale, the ladies and gentlemen in your room with you, would you please have them give some final thoughts? Then we'll have you give them, and then Sergeant Major will let you give us some final thoughts, and we'll close it out for the night. Okay?
Well, I know, so I'm Staff Sergeant Pearson, and I'm the 59th Ordnance Brigade Rep, and I know, go Ordnance. It's been a huge impact on the cadre I work with, bringing them out to volunteer events, specifically the Feed the Hungry. I was able to get some trainees to go to that and to get them to interact with the community and get them to see firsthand what they're capable of with the BOSS program. And when they go to their units, there was a mixture of Guard, Reserve, and Active. It was a huge impact. The morale for one of the main reasons I wanted to was for the cadre I work with. COVID had us isolated and kind of dampened. We couldn't go out. We were just away from everybody. So being able to stand this BOSS program up and provide Sergeant First Class Ramsdale with ordnance support, with all these the holiday helpers and the volunteer events in the community, it's been huge. And I would love to remain on these platforms to hear these ideas, to hear these questions, and just try to do my part to build on them. So over.
You know you're invited back next month and any other time from that moment on. So welcome to the family and continue to be here with us. Go Ordnance. Sorry, did I have a moment? All right, Sergeant Ramsdale, you want to have the team in there with you, say a few final comments?
I do have the team with me.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Marshburn. I think it's an amazing program, and I think it's great that we have the experience where the most senior enlisted at the company and the junior enlisted are working together at some of these volunteer events and building the foundation and the team building that is coming with the program at the volunteer events, at like doing life skills and just working together. And I personally would like to see it go further than that, and where we get in like squads out there and then helping with more team leadership. And that's what I would like to see from the program.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. And yes, we're pointing right at her. She's gonna talk next.
Well, what I appreciate from the BOSS program so far is that I love helping people. That's a really big thing for me, especially Feed the Hungry. That's my favorite one. And the other day we went out to a church for like their soup kitchen and help put all that stuff together. So just, seeing people smile, seeing people happy, especially food. I know there's a lot of food shortages and stuff like that. And I don't like being hungry. Nobody likes being hungry. So yeah. I just love seeing the smiles on people's faces when we help. I love seeing smile on Sergeant Ramsdale's face when we've had a good event. I love hearing that Sergeant Major Love is happy with what we've done. Yeah, I love it. We have a good time.
Well, I'm gonna just tell you, people that have that, and and honestly, and we're gonna go back to you, Sergeant, but just know this. It's like a drug when you see the smiles on people's faces. You want to see them more, therefore you volunteer more, because if nothing else, you feel that you have a purpose. I mean, we have this program here. I could easily be at home doing whatever I want. I'm a colonel, I could do, but I spend my time here with you all because one, I want to give back all the experience that I've had to keep you from going through whatever you're going to go through. If I can answer a question, or anyone on this, my sister is a part of it, the NCOs, the officers, the generals that are part of it, it's because we want to help the next generation. Because when we hang up our uniforms and put on our urban camouflage, we want to know this place is left in great hands. And knowing that we have people out there that do what you all do just makes us feel good and puts a smile on our face because we know it's genuine. And so we just want to thank you all. And I know there's somebody back there hiding behind that didn't speak. They're over there. I saw him.
Hey, come on,
Toby. Put your head in there. There you go.
How you doing? I think this program actually, oh my bad. I think I like this program. It helps build character. Also, it very much so empowers us on different diversity. So we all work together, stay connected together, so we can empower each other, not just locally, but for soldiers all around the world.
Awesome. Well, before I let Sergeant Ramsdale answer, because I know she's going to, let me just let you all know that what you're doing sets a special place in heaven for you. I just want you to know that, okay? The fact that you do that, shut up. No, sorry. But the fact that you all are doing what you're doing and you didn't, no one made you do it, is just so heartwarming, because when we set out every day to do something, we have to figure out, it's not just about our job. What is going to make us feel purposeful in our lives? What are we doing to give back to the community? I have a motto on my emails that's automatic on there. I don't know if y'all remember back in the day, where they say you got to come up with a motto quote. What quote do you want to use? Well, I came up with my own quote, and it says, what we do for ourselves dies with us, but what we do for others lives on as our legacy. What is our legacy? What are you doing? When you grow up to be sergeant first classes and sergeant majors, what person can you look back at and say, wow, I helped you get through? And what person is looking up at you and say, wow, had it not been for you, I wouldn't be where I am. So thank you all so much. And I'm going to let Sergeant Ramsdale go for you. You lead us, Sergeant Ramsdale, and then we're going to lead out with Sergeant Major. I'm going to call it. Wait, I see two hands. I can't let these hands go. Latoya Green. Here you go. Latoya, what is your question, girl?
I love that.
Can you hear? You on mute? There you go.
Hey y'all, sorry I'm late. I was
Better late than never.
I'm in Korea, so it's probably a lag.
Good.
Okay, so my question is, how do you all advertise boss events? Because I think that that's a big issue, because we don't really see a lot of boss events like when they're coming up to prepare for it. So my question is just, how are you all advertising?
Okay, so I'm gonna summarize for you because you missed that part of the conversation. It was awesome. We're gonna do a whole bunch of things. So I'm gonna summarize it for all of them. We talked about the recruiting efforts, starting with before people even come in the military, going out to recruiting stations. They're gonna take that back to the Chief of Staff of the Army, going to our platforms where we have initial entry trainees, going to our initial military trainees, AITs, and then social media, going to each of the units, and when they have their in-processing, making it a part of the in-processing checklist, having boss reps go to the command teams. These boss reps are empowered to talk to their leadership in their units, to be able to say, look, we have this here. But not only that, going on a regular basis, not waiting for people to come to you. We talked about having our MIFLICs, our chaplains, our behavioral health communities, not only handle and take care of soldiers, but also provide contact information for boss reps, so that if a soldier needs to talk to somebody, single soldier, single parent, single civilian, that person who's helping that individual can reach out to someone and say, here's a phone number you can call. I'm not just gonna give you a flyer, but here's a phone number you can call and you can talk to. So I'm just summarizing because I know we're at the end, but I'm so glad you called in, because we got a whole lot more that we're gonna bring to you and the rest of the team. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. But one other thing, like, what about having a PAO assigned to like the boss trips to create that content, to make it to where it advertises and it's posted on social media, so now it makes more people want to attend?
I forgot that part too. Yes. Social media.
I totally agree with you.
Tweeting, Facebooking, Instagram, and everything you can think of. And I don't know, we're not friends yet, but you need to go, we need to become friends on Facebook. Sergeant Major Love and the team went out and did this awesome extravaganza. And she has her friend network on Facebook. She and I are friends. I took all her pictures and I put them on my page and I tagged everybody else. What better way than just grassroots messaging to put out what's going on? And a lot of people don't realize, but I'm gonna just tell you, this program started from just a small group of people. We now have 25 chapters, if not more now, that are around the world in the different installations. And not only that, we're now, FMMP is nested under the Women's Initiative Team, TRADOC, that is led by Lieutenant General Gervais. We had our commanding general at Fort Lee support the program. I say that because we started small, and it all started with messaging to our friends who have friends who have friends. And so absolutely social media, as you know, is the times nowadays, advertising and getting to know each other, and people come into platforms like this to talk about it so we can go out there and spread the word even more. So thank you for bringing up that social media. And we're so glad you came on.
Let me know.
We will, don't worry, we'll be talking to you again. We have this next month, We're continuing session number 2 on BOSS, caring for single soldiers, single civilians, and single parents. So we want you to come back, and thank you so much for dialing, because we're going to have you come. They're going to reach out to you. I'll make sure they reach out to you and talk to you about this. All right. Thank you so much. Hey, I see Devaney. You're going to jump. I see that hand raised. I love y'all.
This is a quick one, and it piggybacks on all of the suggestions you all had. You know, our chaplain and our MFLEC work together, and they have a master resiliency calendar. And in it, they put all the events and different things that can help the different categories of soldiers. They put it on teams, and they have the hyperlinks. And, you know, and when we get in a group forum, we talk about it, and we have a smaller forum called Coffee and Conversations. And we just bring the groups together, see what they're going through. And that's when our MFLEC and our chaplain and our resilience folks are just kind of going around the room and offering suggestions and saying, hey, did you know this was going on? And it helps them focus in an indirect way. And it's like a word of mouth, and it encourages people. So I offer to those things, really leveraging your chaplain and MFLEC to put the word out in a lot of different ways. And it helps us, and then it encourages people to go, because they'll have a friend that says, oh, I'll go with you. And sometimes that's the encouragement people need to participate in the programs as well.
Thank you so much. And look, I know you're out there doing awesome things. So thank you for bringing that up. And that's a great recommendation. And I know they're going to take advantage of that. And with that, I wanted to be able to say, we're going to close out in just a second. But one of the things that we always have to remember is we have to be the conduit to spread words. And even if one group of people doesn't listen, don't let that stop you. Continue on, continue to the next level, and see who we can do things with. And the reason I say that is because Sergeant Major Raimundo, who is one of my heroes, I'll tell you that, who is streaming live to Facebook. So even though we think we see ourselves, we got people on Facebook watching this. He wanted to make sure you all knew, hey, Boss Reps, everybody that's on here that has a Boss t-shirt and has spoken on Boss, you're going to him next. Oh yeah, I've already signed you up, so you're welcome. He would like you to be on his platform. We just talked about advertising, right? We would like you to be a part of his platform. And Sergeant Major, I know every time you try to dial to speak, you've got these platforms on your computer, so I'm speaking for you because it messes with his internet when he's talking, and the Facebook stream are streaming. So I'm just going to speak on his behalf. We would like to invite you to be a part of his entire MedCom community, as well as all the other Facebook pages he has. And I will tell you, he has over, I think we came up with 800 people amongst all of them. So don't think you're just talking to us. How many?
So right now, very sure, I'm about to become an independent because I got close to 17 days before I take my uniform off and start going transitional leave. However, because I built a platform over about 7,000 people and on multiple pages, that I'm going to continue doing LTDs, professional development. So BOSS is one of those things that actually the students love to hear. So just be ready, because I'm gonna do a program next month with all of you. I'm gonna reach out to Samuel Love and the rest of the BOSS team. I'm gonna somehow to link all the bosses from all over the globe in one platform. So it's gonna be most likely in the afternoonish type thing. So more to follow. So I love to support these programs. So just stay tuned. And like I say, Colonel Preacher Brown, I got quite a few followers, close to 7,000 now. So I'm already take my uniform off. My platform has grown so much that I can provide that type of support that you guys need. So stay tuned. Thank you, man, for that support, and thank you for that advertisement.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Major. And for that, like I said, the reason his bandwidth is because he's streaming to, I don't know if y'all caught the number, over 7,000. Was it 7 or 17? Whichever one it is. It has 1,000 after the word. So, so just know that not only are you impacting those on this screen, but you're impacting so many more people out there. So thank you for what you do. And just know that somebody learned something new tonight from what you all said to us, okay? Sergeant Major, I'm going to let, oh no. Now, Sergeant Ramsdale, I'm gonna let you close it out. I'm gonna let Sergeant Major too. But Sergeant Ramsdale, give us your final thoughts, ma'am.
I don't really have much more to say, but I did want to tell you that our boss, civilian advisor, is also on the line, and I like to give a lot of credit to Mr. Matt Hogg because a lot of everything that we do depends on him and our MWR team, that they make almost everything that we do successful. And
well, so you know you can't just introduce them like that, and we're not gonna.
Yeah, I was gonna let him speak. But go
We're
ahead.
gonna have them. Not that we're gonna put you on the spot, but we're putting you on the spot. Please introduce him to us and the whole team, so we can at least get about 5 or 10 minutes of him saying something awesome.
all right, if Mr. Matt Hogg could please come on. He is the Fort Lee boss advisor and has been with us for 15 years now. Yes.
He's 4 minutes here. I know he's getting himself ready. You ready, sir?
Oh, he probably stepped away. So I go ahead and close it out.
Is he there? Oh, there he's Matt. Mr.
He stepped away. I don't know.
Are you? Can you hear us, Mr. Hogg? Did I say it right? Oh, yeah. I see his name still there. He may be muted. You might be muted. I'll unmute you. Can you hear us?
I don't think so. I think he stepped away.
Well, we know you're going to say something profound, so we're going to let Sergeant Major represent you well. Go ahead, Sergeant.
So, like I told you, all the resources, you have a boss manager, you have a boss advisor, which usually is the civilian who's the continuity. And I would tell you, you need to challenge your boss president. Your installation get funding. We get annual funding to be able to provide these events, these programs, and that we get money. And the money is determined by the size of the installation. Of course, like something like Fort Hood, we get a whole lot more money. And Fort Lee's installation, it's still a lot of money, but we get money just for the boss program. But in closing, I would tell you all that first and foremost, I gotta thank my squad who showed up and showed out. They are amazing. I'm proud of them for the things they do in the community and what they do for our soldiers. I could have been blessed with an amazing team. These soldiers, they want to serve the community, for us reading, going to the nursing home, going to the playing bingo with them. They do so much within our community and they inspire others to do so. So I'm just really proud of you all. Keep up the good work. And ma'am, I want to thank you and your team for inviting us on this platform, because that BOSS is an underused resource along the SFRG. And I think it's important what you all do. And the people who's on here, take everything that we're saying and all the things you learn and challenge your installation. Your garrison commander, your garrison command sergeant major, ask, what are our boss president doing for us? What is our boss advisor doing for us? They get paid for that position. And there's and you force them. You come up with ideas, you be involved, show up to the boss meeting. Every installation, your division, 25th ID, 3rd ID, 1st ID, they have to have a boss meeting. Show up and give your ideas. Ask them, where the funding going? What can we do? This is what we want to see. This is what the trends I see in my organization. But again, the BOSS program can only be successful as you leaders. We need your leaders to be engaged and connected and allocate and support the BOSS program. So thank you, and that's all I have. Thank you all.
You're so welcome. And Sergeant Major, I just want to add to that. If you all don't go to your garrison or your sergeant majors, you got a company command team, you got a platoon sergeant, you got a squad leader. For the most junior soldier in your formations, go ask somebody. All you have to do is ask. And if nothing else, in social media, wonderful, Google it. You can find any and everything out you want to know about the BOSS program. Now that you know about it, pass the word. And so thank you all so much. I know we went over on time, but you know what? We train to standard, not time, and we mentor anytime. And so this is mentorship for you all. It's free, it's for, and it's sincere. And that's why we do it. To help one, teach one, help one. It's what our goal is. So thank you so much. Next month, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to have more people on. well, we've got a lot of people. We're going to have people on here that are going to talk more about SFRG and continue to talk about BOSS. We want to invite our BOSS team back again. Of course, Sergeant Major Raimondo, we're going to help him get off the ground when he gets ready to hang up his uniform and retire into his urban camouflage. And thank you so much, Sergeant Major, for all that you do and all the platforms and all the pages that you stream to. And everyone else, thank you for joining in. Tell a friend, tell someone if they need to know. Ask the questions. They're here to ask the questions. And we don't want to monopolize the conversation. We do this, but when we see a hand or you want to jump in, feel free to jump in. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We are so proud of you. We're so happy that you joined us, and we pray that you have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend. And with that, good night and God bless.
Right. Thank you.
Take care.